Sometimes you can feel alone,
hurt,
traumatized,
like very vulnerable.
Sense of hope, stagnation, and despair.
Despair,
a little bit like confused.
Anxiety, stress, depression,
burnout,
Frustration. We're scared.
Never-ending grief.
grief.
and that just makes me feel very, very angry.
It's absolutely paralyzing.
Emotions are data that we've been ignoring.
And I had experienced all of these emotions, but I thought that they were somehow a weakness. I thought that to be respected and recognized in this space, I had to be the inspiring, empowered, energizing climate activist. And I found myself becoming a caricature of myself to the point where I was trying to achieve external sustainability, but in doing so, I had completely stripped myself of inner sustainability.
We care so much about what's going over there and we don't look to ourselves.
But there have been moments where you just you feel it. And even as you're an activist, even as you're like taking action on the issue, it's still really difficult and it can be pretty paralyzing.
In these conversations, we don't talk enough about how it's affecting people emotionally, mentally, and how it ties into our health and well-being as human beings.
Sometimes we have been taught to suppress emotions, but we actually have to learn to identify them and to let emotions also drive good things in us.
So it's a real struggle sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm determined to keep going.
The question for me is, how do we use emotions as a fuel for transformation?
Climate change is definitely a global emergency, as we all know, and it affects all of us, but definitely not equally.
The climate change is not only a cognitive challenge, it's not only rational. We need more than data to navigate this crisis.
A lot of activists like us act out of emotions. We act because we're angry, because we're scared, but then realize that we all act out of love.
What if we used emotions to connect?
We're able to see that we're not alone. There are many people out there working on this issue. And what we need to do is to strengthen these networks so that we as activists, as policymakers, as policy wonks, as business leaders, we build resilience between us. That's the only way we are going to be able to turn this around. We are not going to convince people with facts. We are going to convince people by connecting heart to heart.